Hey guys! Haha! Stardy Tom Logan back with another video for you. And today I'm going to take a look at the Palit. Now these are the midnight versions. What do they call it? The Midnight Kaleidoscope. And I've got the 4080 and the 4090. Now the 4080 did arrive just before the actual 4080 launch, and I just didn't have enough time to be able to get all the testing and everything done because I was already late with the 4090. That had been with me for a few days. It takes 2 or 3 days really for me to do a proper look at one card, so I just didn't have the time to do both, and I wanted to do both together because I haven't done like a proper side by side with a pair of very matching graphics cards yet. I could have done it with the Strix, but again they come separately and these were quite close together. So excuses out of the way. The Palit cards. Now they have had quite a lot of chat around them online about the fact that they haven't performed very well, and I'm going to be covering that today actually because I'm not entirely sure where a lot of it has come from, whether the ones that were reviewed were different to these. Now these are the OC models, but quite nicely compared to some of the other brands that I've seen. Normally what you get is you get the MSRP card, which is as on the MSRP with Nvidia or quite close. Then the OC models are normally much more expensive, because in reality the OC models are what I would call the normal models, and they are actually the ones that you're going to see more of. The very vanilla basic models you just won't after launch unless there is some promotion going on with Nvidia. But these are the OC models, and the prices are still, yes, the 4080 and 4090 base prices are much higher than we'd all expect. I will not go into that in this review. We're going to review it as just a 4080 and a 4090 because we don't need to cover all the drama in every review. So if you're in the market for a 4080 or a 4090, then we will go, and the prices aren't that much more than the normal MSRP card, which they have sitting slightly below it. Now, one thing that I will say about these cards this time is there was a very Marmite approach, or very Marmite chat about the crystal on the bottom of these cards. Now it's black on the Midnight Kaleidoscope, and I genuinely think it's a masterstroke. Now with the lighting out of the box, it's very unicorn puke. You can control it. You can connect it to your motherboard if you want to. There's software available as well. There's many ways that you can do it, but obviously you can just have it off if you want to as well. And with the black kind of or dark kind of gunmetal crystal effect with the front of the card now, I actually think this looks much better than the clear version that they had before. Also, the silver's gone in favour of a gunmetal backplate and gunmetal detailing on the front of the card. Again, for me, and I'm about colours and aesthetics and little touches, it does make it feel a lot more premium, a lot more grown up. I definitely prefer this to the older design. And something else, because I'm a bit of a nerd and I like engineering, the machining in the fan area on the back, oh my days, this is just beautiful. You can see it's been CNC'd machined, but the way it catches the light, it's sharp, but not sharp enough to cut your finger, if you understand what I mean. It's a sharp cut, as in it's very clean cut, and it's just beautiful. Like, I actually really like the look of this in so many ways, and it is built like a tank as well. There's no creaks to it. It's a very nice card, and I think the darkened nature of it takes it away from that kind of gamer, yes, but it's made it a little bit more mature. It's made it a little bit more understated. Now, yes, unicorn puke, a lot of us don't like it, some of us do like it, but you can quite clearly turn it on to all white if you want, or like I've said, just turn it off and just have it as a very nice, I think, when it's off or if you had white lights on it and maybe turn them down a little bit, so this kind of went all grey, I actually think it's quite grown up and I actually really like it. Maybe that's because I'm getting old. A lot of my friends keep saying that I'm an old man. Maybe this is just a sign of me thinking that. Now, temperatures, it performed like amazingly. You can see in the graphs, it has done incredibly well. And performance for the two, it's a kind of the 4090 and the 4080, two very different eggs. In that, throughout testing, this 4090 has been one of the quickest that I've tested, which compared to what I'd heard online doesn't kind of sync up. Now, I am using the public driver for the launch of the 4080, whereas when I reviewed the 4090, it would have been the public driver for the 4090 launch. Now, there shouldn't have been any major changes with that. We did notice with the MSI that might not have been running at 100%, but I got told that early on enough that I managed to go in and make sure that my 4090 Supreme was running at 100% before I started my big batch of tests. So I'm happy that the results there are consistent. Although we have been finding that with 3D Mark, for example, for some weird reason, a restart seems to put the scores up a lot. We've not managed to work out why. So throughout, with all of the cards that I've tested, before I've done 3D Mark, I have actually restarted the system, and then yeah, scores have been like noticeably higher. For 3D Mark times by Extreme, for example, we're talking 3,000 points. Not necessarily managed to work out why that might have been yet. Just don't know. And we don't know. So it's going to be one of those ones. Now, other gaming results, I was talking about the 4090 because this has been consistently fast throughout all of the tests. But polarizing, the 4080 hasn't. It's been middle to low end of the graphs, directly compared with the other 4080s that we have reviewed. Now, you could be looking at the graphs going, why is there no other cards in the graph? And that's because we've kind of put these in against the other 4000 series cards. If you want to kind of compare loads of other cards, then there's just not enough room on the screen for it, and people always moan about the graphs. So you'd have to go and look at the Founders Edition review to be able to see a big fat load of other cards in it. So that's where the thought process with the graphing kind of comes from. So the 4080 has done okay, but it's not, you know, running off into the distance, whereas the 4090 has been strong compared to all of the 4090s that I've tested, to the point where it's probably one of the strongest ones that I have had, and quite kind of like eye-openingly in reality. But when we come on to clock speeds, you can see that the 4090 clock speeds for the Gamerock were there from the start. So if the average clock speeds are very strong, performance is going to be very strong. So the only thing that I can think is some of the ones that you may have seen online, I've not looked around at them. I try and keep my reviews fairly clean. I do not want to see other people's results, but in the comments I have noticed people saying about them. So maybe those cards were not the OC cards and they've gone with the non-OC models, which is going to put it at a Founders and sometimes below. Whereas with the OC model, you can quite clearly see that it is very, very strong. Temperatures are good. It uses about the same amount of power as all of the others. It's not like the power limit has been put up to the moon and temperatures are gone really high or anything like that. So they've just performed really well. So out of the two, the 4090 is definitely the strongest one when mixing with all the other 4090s. The 4080, not as strong as its older brother. It's just mixing in the pack. Sometimes it's at the bottom of the graph, sometimes it's in the middle of the graph. So it's not ashamed itself, but at the same time, there's definitely a difference in comparing to the competition between the two. So I love the aesthetics. I would love to know your thoughts underneath about this. We do a weird thing at the end of the videos as well where we have food together. So today we're having churros, and you can tell me about that in the comments. But you get to choose your own topping because we're going to branch out and give you a bit of feedback. So yeah, churros and then whatever topping that you want. I think I'm going to go for cinnamon sugar. Please remember to like, subscribe and comment, because I do try and approach these videos not in a telling you to buy it way or not to buy it way or trying to cause clickbait drama, but just in a very chilled and relaxed chat at the pub kind of way. So if you're in the market for these, I've given you the results. I've also shown you that one is definitely stronger when compared to the comparison than the other. But aesthetically, personally, I think it's on point. You just need to get the lighting set up to match your system, and I think you'll love it. I also think that if you're going to buy one of these, you're missing a trick if you don't vertically mount it. I haven't vertically mounted it for the review because we test them all in the generic format like this, at least at the moment anyway. But for now, this has been the tiniest one with a Palit 4080 and 4090 kind of roundup review for you. Out. Ding! Love you, sis.